Good evening. Welcome to Expat in Science. I'm your host, Raju Mandhyan. Here at Expat in Science, we take external views of internal successes by foreigners, expats, and immigrants who have made Philippines their home. Tonight, we are very fortunate to have two guests. Both of them are from America. One's Swiss American, and we are here to talk about creative expressions and creative investments. So, our first guest, who is a teacher, an artist, and works for Raffles Institute of Design here in Fort Bonifacio, has just come to the Philippines. Buzz Walker Teach, our first guest, to talk about creative expressions. Buzz, welcome to Expat in Science.
Hi, Roger. Nice to meet you. Thank you.
So it's a pleasure to have you here, sir. You are an artist and a teacher.
Correct. Right. I've been an artist probably for about 40 years in terms of graphic design, illustration in America, and then started teaching in 1997 when I got over here into Southeast Asia. So I've been combining the two, the art and teaching in graphic design and drawing and related types of design courses.
Yeah. Before I go asking you about your profession and your passion, let me ask you about what is fun about being in the Philippines?
What's fun about being in the Philippines? Well, it's really different for me.
Really?
I had lived for 8.5 years in Singapore prior to coming here, and like anyone that has spent any time in Singapore would probably say that it's an adjustment to come to Manila.
Right.
So that has taken place too.
And what's the most happiest, the most exciting experience or place here in Manila for you?
Actually, I would say that, well, I'm enjoying the idea of the teaching because it's a startup school, our Raffles campus.
Yeah.
And having new students and sort of setting the modules and the teaching experience. As well, probably the best thing that's happened that I think in regards personally is meeting artists and people that are sketchers, architects, and getting involved with some arts groups here in the Manila area. And that's really been a real inspiration for me to be with other artists as well.
So what you do is called urban sketching, or is it called art? It's called drawing, sketching. How do you really define what you do and teach?
Okay, well, urban sketching, first of all, is an organization. Actually, it was originally started by an artist in America who lives in Seattle, who started a website based on the idea of sketching in the cities.
Sorry about that. Okay.
And I think that's where the name probably evolved from, is that people that are, rather than are out in the countryside sketching landscapes, which we enjoy as well, but the fact that we're in the cities, we're living around what's our environment, from the architecture to the marketplaces to the people. And so it's evolved into an international organization of groups in different cities throughout the world.
Yeah.
So our Philippine group has just since May we've started, mainly with myself and a teacher, architect from San Benil, De La Salle, San Benil.
Yeah. Well, I have another sneeze coming
up.
Okay. Sorry. Let me ask you this. Have you been in this niche of art forever, or did you move from something else to this? And if you're in this, what keeps you here? What keeps you happy and fulfilled?
I would say that it's sort of a cliche, but the idea that I've been drawing since I was a kid, probably a lot of people would say that too. But the fact that I've always enjoyed art of some sort, and from my art school days in Chicago in the late 60s all the way through, getting into illustration. I've been involved in photography when I was living in the 70s in San Francisco, California. So I felt like my hand has always been in the art somewhere. The art is my sanity, I suppose, as well.
It makes you sane?
Yeah, I hope so.
Sanity. So how does it? I mean, what about it? What about putting out what you see and sense and feel on paper provides you the fulfillment and the sanity? What about it? How?
I think it's an appreciation for I should say the end result, but also it's the process. It's, again, a little bit of a saying, you know, it's about that. It's not just so much the end result, but it's the process of doing it, the enjoyment of doing it. For example, whether I'm sketching on in live or whether as an illustrator in the past, and I still do some illustration work now. It's enjoyable. It's a meditation. It's relaxing. Like anything else, the more you practice, you get better at it. And it's rewarding to see it at the end of the finished product.
It changes you as a person. And how does it affect people outside of you, people you communicate with, people you express yourself to? How does it affect them?
I think I found from, especially in the last few years and being involved with sketch groups, and especially over in Asia now, that people enjoy seeing what you've done, what the results are.
All right, so visual impact. Yeah.
It is, yeah. And in that respect, and of course we feel good about that when we're complimented on it.
So you were able to convert something that's out there, process it, and put it on paper. And the fact that you're able to translate it, that makes it happen.
Yeah.
So here's some of your work. This is, can you, whichever you want to show.
Oh, sure.
I have a few here.
Okay.
Which one do you want to start with?
All
so
right.
we can show it to the audience
of
what we are talking. Yeah, visual expressions.
This is one that I did 22nd of January, so actually literally a month ago.
Yeah. Let me hold this one
sure.
up. Yeah, so
we
that
have
the
several
camera
of
is
them.
here, right. Yeah. This is the Sultan Singapore Mosque in Singapore.
It's the largest mosque
in Singapore. It is beautiful when it comes up on TV, yeah.
This is the,
Yeah, we're here.
Okay.
Right.
The one here, of course, is the original Manila International Airport in the Ayala Triangle. Here we have the...
Oh, it's that one, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, CEO, the one you were holding, that's correct.
Yeah, this is the largest mosque in Singapore, this one. And again, part of what I enjoy and become more involved in is sitting and actually doing live drawing.
Yeah.
And creating it as you look at it. And as we would say, as sketchers would all agree, is that when you look at something and you draw it live, you become more aware. You see things that you wouldn't normally see.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Come to think of it, because if I sit down in the presence of this mosque, besides saying what is visible, I also probably understand the psychology or the culture or why they built it. Probably it comes through. Is that what you're saying?
I look at as an artist, again, I look at the details. I see certain things about the windows, some of the moldings and all. Even though I'm not an architect, I enjoy that. And it does say something, in this case, about the religion.
The people behind it, their culture and their belief. Here's another one, and this is from Metro Manila, I see. This is the Chapel of Santo Niño de Paz in Greenbelt area. Here, right here. See, let's do a little close-up on that. Isn't that beautiful? Here we are.
This was one of my first sketches as well in Manila, in Greenbelt. I enjoyed, again, the lines. I look for shapes, I look for lines, and that's what attracts me to drawing something as well.
So what commercial purpose can this be put to? Is this saleable, or is this convertible to something else?
It could be. A lot of times, of course, the initial idea of a sketchbook is that we'll say, hundreds of years ago, before the camera, the sketchbook was the form of reference that someone would draw, and then they would turn that into a painting, perhaps later. Someone might take the San Augustine Chapel and later do a painting based on their sketches.
How long does this one take, and does it stay like this forever, or it changes over time? Because
it should stay pretty much as it is, based on the paper and the sketching of it. I use colored pencils, watercolor pencils. I'll do a wash in later. It took me about 2 hours.
And it doesn't get destroyed or something, no?
No, it holds up pretty well. Although, ironically, I have some friends that like to splash either coffee or even other paints onto their drawings, and then they work over the top of them, and they work that actually into the artwork as well.
And what are these little text over here that describes your feeling, or?
I like the idea of it sort of being a journal. And so I'll write notes, something about the setting, where I'm at. In this case, going to San Augustine and seeing this old church. And I'll maybe write sometimes about the weather. It's hot. I got to find a place in shade, especially here in Manila, to draw. Maybe about people that are around watching. One of the things about drawing that's really I find fascinating is that I remember things about drawings I did 15 years ago in Indonesia or in Thailand or in Japan just in the last few years. And you remember, you look at back at the drawing, and I'll remember something about the people. I'll remember something about the environment, the wind blowing off the lake, or when I'm sketching. And from a photographist, we all, I'm sure, enjoy taking photographs as we travel, and especially to other countries. We look at our photos and we enjoy them, but ultimately I know when I look at my photos, say for example from Japan, well, maybe every 3 or 4 months I might glance at some of them. But in terms of a drawing, I might look at them even once a week or once every couple of weeks.
Well, let me see what you're trying to say. See, when you take a picture, it's pretty technical. It's just a click. It's just a click. Sure, people put in a lot of heart and effort into it, and it's just a click, and it's captured almost in reality. But when you sit down and spend time, you also do some internal processing and involve kinesthesia into it. So it becomes a lot more alive to you compared to a photograph. Is that correct?
Exactly. This is a perfect example, the Manila American Cemetery, which I have drawn on a couple of different occasions. I remember sitting here and drawing this, I think back in maybe July or June. And it was a hot Sunday afternoon. There were very few people around. But what I remembered, and I wrote that in the notes, is that looking at all those crosses, that it made me realize what the price was of war and what had happened in the Second World War.
What the penalty for war is, how sad.
Exactly, right. It really was sad. And not just for the Americans and the Filipinos that are buried here, but for all peoples.
Now, what do you teach at the Raffles Fashion Institute? Is that what it's called?
It used to be fashion exclusively when it started about 20 years ago in Singapore. It expanded into interior design, graphic design, multimedia. Now, in fact, the Singapore school has product design, jewelry design, games, and animation. Hopefully, we'll have those here eventually, too.
Right. And how long have you been teaching there?
With the Raffles now almost 10 years. And then, as I say, we started in July with our first students here in Manila.
If my audience here would want to know what is the most ultimate sketch in the world, in the history of the world, is there something really historical? Is there like a monument to this profession that people know? Is there something that you can say, by the way, that sketch in Italy or in a church was a sketch and has the same kind of a science and art behind it? Is there something that comes to your mind?
I think what I would say, it's all a personal thing. That again, a sketch that I remember in my heart and my spirit, and I think of as one of my very finest sketches and moments, and what you might think of as a sketcher or another sketcher. So it could be in Italy, it could be in Japan, it could be in Manila. It could be something small. It could be just sketching a plant in a small setting that someone remembers something about it, and it becomes really special to them.
No works of Da Vinci or somebody else that...
Well, I think we all look at those and we admire that. Da Vinci being an example, his sketchbooks are incredible. And one of the advantages nowadays with the internet is that we can find these amazing artists all over the world and see what they're doing and see what they're sketching. The international organization of the Urban Sketchers, I look at their website every day and I'm fascinated by the postings by artists from Spain, from America, from Indonesia, from Singapore, and it's really good to see what they're drawing, and I guess as an artist myself and someone that sketches, I understand there's a lot of emotion and there's passion in what they do. So again, the scene can be anything from something small to drawing Mount Fuji.
So what can people who are not in the profession or not involved in the art, what can they take away from it and apply it in their daily life? Something that you might have picked up and you want to give it to the world and say, being in this profession and involved in this passion, here's something that I have learned as a human being. Is there something that...
Well, I think that a lot of areas of business could probably use sometimes a quick sketch of some sort in a business meeting can be probably of some value in that respect.
How about human relations, people to people?
I think that has something as well, and again that goes back to the personal thing of being able to to talk about a place that you drew or something that you drew and how it relates to making us feel more fulfilled, maybe. But also how you can pass it to someone else.
That's the point. So how does one go about becoming a sketchist or an artist or an urban sketcher? Step one, what are the steps? How do I go about if I choose to do this? What do I do?
Well, as we were, our group that was in Arts in the Park last week and had a tent.
This is in Greenbelt Park?
Right.
Arts in the Park, where this happened, yeah? Yeah.
Yeah. Some of the earlier ones, the later ones that would have been in our books are some of those. What we said to a lot of people, and there were about 8 or 9 other members of the Philippine Urban Sketchers group there.
Yeah.
And we talked to people about the idea that there are no boundaries in the sense of memberships, of ability to draw. Anyone can draw. Anyone can pick up a pencil or a pen and come out and draw with our group, for example.
I can only draw a rabbit and a flower. That's
wonderful.
Seriously, that's all I know how to draw. Okay.
Well, and that's the point, is that it's not about the end result of how good it is. Of course, it's nice to see a finished piece.
Yeah.
But I think what we find when first-time members drawing with our groups is that they enjoy the camaraderie of the group and the feedback. At the end of the session, which usually goes for about 3 hours, everyone gathers again, maybe at a food court or somewhere in an open area, and everyone puts their artwork out on the table and we look at what everyone's results are.
Gets it critiqued.
That's wonderful. It's such a feeling of enjoyment to see what everyone has done.
So thus no formal training is necessary.
No, it
no
isn't.
payment and no expenses are necessary, just maybe a desire and a little help from friends. Is that what you do?
Exactly, yeah. Any of the groups, at least in terms of the urban sketchers, like I say, there's no membership or anything involved. Sometimes people can't make it for a couple of months, and that's okay. You see them come back. It's just, again, a vehicle, I suppose we might say, for people to come together to draw and enjoy exchanging ideas. And again, like any other type of skill like this, your abilities improve as you draw. And people get inspired. They want to draw outside of the group.
Sir, Buzz Walker teach, no? So now that you've spent so many years in this and now you're here in the Philippines, what would you like to do besides working for Raffles Fashion Institute? What would you like to add to this country's culture or people? What would you like to do? What would you like to create here?
I think from the standpoint of course, it's going to have something to do with art and how one can draw and view what's around. For example, I want to spend more time in the provinces and drawing some of the old churches and the buildings, and again, the markets too. But I think in the way that can be given back to the country in the sense of capturing, for example, things that are disappearing. Again, the buildings that are torn down. The sketchers and again, a number of different other cities will talk about drawing a building that's going to be destroyed, or a marketplace that's going to be knocked down. And so, as a sketcher, we not only record that, and that's something that can go into the history and be saved in the museums as well, of sketches, just like, again, artists have done for hundreds of years of recording what they see. So I hope that maybe from my standpoint, that's something I can do, that drawings like these can be eventually
recorded, stored, and used for looking back into history and culture.
That's right, and to understand what was here, what is hopefully still here, but...
Sir, 2 more questions for you, last 2 questions. One is, any difference or anything special about this country's artistic talent in this area? Is it any different from, say, people in Singapore or in the US? How are Filipinos in terms of expressing themselves creatively through the medium of art? Are they any different? What is their standout points?
I think, well, the fact that I actually also draw and paint with a group called the Saturday Group of Manila, which is one of the longest-standing Filipino groups of painters and fine artists.
Saturday groups, yeah.
And they usually meet every Saturday afternoon at Shangri-La Plaza. So I've been involved with the fine arts side as well.
Wow.
And what I see in terms of what they do is inspired me as well to say, well, again, look what the skills are. The skills are wonderful. There's some really, really talented artists.
Shangri-La and the hotel? I thought
the Shangri-La Plaza on Shaw Boulevard.
Oh, the shopping mall,
right.
yeah.
So again, these artists are many of them are professional full-time painters. So, but it's Saturday becomes a group where they, a day when they can come together as a group, exchange ideas. We have models that we'll draw as well. And it's out in the, actually in the open areas of the plaza. So I get a chance to see what abilities these artists have, and I'm really impressed by it. There's many, many fine artists in the Philippines. And so that, I think as an artist, we see other styles. We want to emulate ideas. We get thoughts about trying something different from seeing what someone else does. And so again, I hope maybe in the same way that perhaps some of the things I will do, whether it's with the Urban Sketchers group or with the Saturday group, that artists say, oh yeah, this is really interesting. I should try more sketching outside. In fact, that's what I want to get some of them to come out and join the outdoor groups.
People who are not yet exposed.
Right. So again, it's an exchange of ideas and thoughts.
Yeah, that's where growth will come. So your group is urbansketches.org.
That's correct, yeah. We have a Facebook site. We also have a blog site.
urbansketches.org.
We better, I better check. I was going to say maybe the best is to Google it. Oh, okay, yeah. Just in case, just Google it. You'll have it.
Sir Buzz, your name is Buzz Walker Teach. Teach is a verb.
That's
How
correct.
have you lived with a name like that? Have you been happy with
in fact, since I've become a full-time teacher, many times I've sort of just gone by Buzz Walker. The teach confuses people.
Right.
Is it your title? Is it your name? Well, yes, it's both. But, and so although lately I've been going back to using the teach as well.
Well, I'm happy to have had you here on the show, and thank you for giving us insights on this medium of expression, this creative medium of expression. Now, what I'd like you to do before we close, I don't know if I've asked you all the right questions. If there's anything that I might have forgotten, your turn to tell me about it. And if you want to pick out the best pictures amongst these and say that this represents the Philippines for me, this is my best Filipino sketch. And you can talk to the camera over there. This is the last one.
Actually, there's a